to my brain, my heart, sports talk with Mike. It's hump day. It's Wednesday, not that type of hump day, you sick pervert. Get that out of your head. What are you thinking? It's Wednesday. It's just 2 days before the weekend, and I cannot wait. I got the Colorado Avalanche playing the Calgary Flames tonight. I hope they beat the Flames. It's really, if they don't beat the Flames, Joe Sacco, he's got to go. I don't care. I don't care if there's maybe like 10, 11 games left. Fire his ass. Do it. I mean, that's my own personal opinion. Today's episode, I've been wondering who the powerhouses were over the last decade, well 12 years. I was going to include this year, but I didn't. But I just wondering who the 5 best teams were since 2000 and who the 5 worst teams were. So I went and I did some research. I did some calculations, some mathematics, and I realized I'm not that good at mathematics, so I got my 4-year-old to do the addition, and it worked out perfectly, so I'm really happy about that. So I'm going to go through the 30 NHL teams, and just basically what I did is went from 2000 to last season, 11 seasons, and just added all their points for each year and divided by 11 to get an average. I'm going to let you know the teams that were in the middle. They weren't the best, but they weren't the worst. We got the Philadelphia Flyers at 96 points, Boston Bruins at 94, Buffalo Sabres and Colorado Avalanche at 93, Nashville Predators at 92, the Calgary Flames at 90, along with the St. Louis Blues and Washington Capitals at 90, Anaheim Ducks and the New York Rangers at 89, Montreal Canadiens, Pittsburgh Penguins, and Toronto Maple Leafs at 88. The Carolina Hurricanes at 87. Chicago Blackhawks, Los Angeles Angels, Minnesota Wild, and Phoenix Coyotes at 86. And the Tampa Bay Lightning at 83. So those are the middle. I'm going to start with the 5 worst teams. Alright. The 5th worst team in the NHL since 2000 has been the Edmonton Oilers with 82 points on average. They had 1 cup appearance. They lost to the Carolina Hurricanes. For me, the reason why the Oilers, I mean, they were pretty decent just before the lockout. Not too bad, but not too great. Good at all, actually. It's just, for me, in net, they can't, I mean, they had Tommy Salo just before that, and Nikolai Habibulin came in, but they haven't had that goaltender that can kind of carry the whole team. Basically is what they need. I mean, they've had some scores here and there, but nothing too much. It's always seemed like the forwards were defensive forwards that could get you 50, 60 points maybe, but nothing too much. In the defense, they're always a little bit lackluster. They brought in Chris Pronger. Couldn't keep him, too cold. For me, Edmonton, they need a goaltender, and that's why they're at the bottom. I mean, they had 3 straight #1 overall picks. And they got the score, and they need depth on defense, and they still need a goaltender. I don't think Dubnyk is their guy. The 4th worst team is the Florida Panthers. 78 points. For the Panthers, I can kind of say the same thing. I mean, goaltender. They've had goaltenders, just nothing that was too solid, nothing that really would open your eyes. I mean, they had Craig Anderson, and he really didn't start showing out until he went over to the Colorado Avalanche. And Scott Clemmensen and Jose Theodore, they did a pretty good job being a duo last season, but not a lot of really star goaltenders. And for forwards, the same thing. I mean, you look at their goal scorers. Most people can only name guys like Stephen Weiss from the forwards, and I mean, their defensemen are young defensemen. So I think for the Florida Panthers, it's getting up there. It's bad this year because of injuries, but they'll slowly get back there. But for the last 11 years, nope. The New York Islanders, they're tied with the Panthers at 78 points. The Islanders, they had bad luck with DiPietro, injuries constantly with him. They were pretty decent just for the lockout. They had Alexei Yashin and Michael Pekka, so they had the tools. A little bit thin on the blue line, but that wasn't really their problem. It was just the Nets' injuries to a goaltender who was pretty good. and then you had to deal with your backup, so that was a hard pill to swallow. Next up, the second worst team is the Winnipeg Jets / Atlanta Thrashers. So mostly the Atlanta Thrashers, though. 77 points with one Stanley Cup appearance, or sorry, well, not Stanley Cup, one playoff appearance. For the Thrashers / Jets, I like Pavlik and net. They have the scoring with Ilya Kovalchuk and Dan Lee-Heatley, and it's just, for me, it was a clash of heads between just those two guys. I mean, they were supposedly good friends, but it wasn't enough. And then Heatley gets shipped out because, yeah, I mean, he needed a fresh start after what happened there with Dan Schneider. So for the Thrashers, it was just a lot of non-chemistry, a lot of young guys that just weren't really not fitting in with their game plan, and took a while to find a goaltender that would fit their needs. And I mean, now since they went to the Jets, they've become a better team this year. They're in the playoff position, so it's I don't know. Maybe it's just once the Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup, they got a nice defender in Bufflin, and they got Andrew Ladd as their captain now. So they just needed a couple more pieces. And the worst team in the NHL since 2000 is the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the reason being, they got Rick Nash and did not surround him with anyone whatsoever. Rick Nash had no supporting cast up front or on the blue line or in nets. It was really, like they always had these high picks, but they weren't really bringing in anything special. Nikita Filatov, he just turned out to be a bust, and they had another guy there. I can't remember his name right now, but it's just they just couldn't do anything. The cast on him was just brutal. But this year they actually put in some decent work. So since they traded Rick Nash, so I would just I think Rick Nash actually was the problem, because in my mind he's not that elite NHL player. He's a goal scorer, but that's it. I think he'd be better suited for like a Thomas Holmstrom. I would actually classify him with Thomas Holmstrom, really. So that's your 5 worst teams in the NHL since 2000. The top 5 teams, it's actually top 6 because we have a tie for 2nd place, but so also a tie for 5th place. So the top, the first teams, it's the Ottawa Senators and the Dallas Stars at 98 points apiece. The Senators had 1 Stanley Cup appearance, they lost, and the Dallas Stars had 1 Western Conference Final appearance. For the Senators, it looked like it was a lot of it was a fast speed game, just like speed was their asset, and I think the bottom 6 forwards really did a number for them, shutting down opposition's top lines. And I like their veteran leadership on the blue line. They always seem to have a pretty decent goaltender. I mean, Ray Emery, I really liked him, so it seemed like they just had exactly what they needed, and they worked it all the way from the nets all the way out. So that's what they brought. And the Dallas Stars kind of did the same. They drafted from within, and they kept their players, and the goaltender Eddie Belfour. So they just always seemed like to have everything. It just felt like the pieces were together, but they just needed an extra thing, just like the center, just an extra player, whether it be a forward or defenseman. The goaltenders I always liked. I mean, I love Patrick Lalime in Ottawa. So it's just they always just need that one more thing. Now, for the Senators, I think they needed a defenseman, and for the Stars, I think they needed a forward, especially after Modano left. Next up, the Vancouver Canucks at 100 points, 1 Stanley Cup appearance with no Stanley Cup rings. For the Canucks, even though they've been an amazing team, I find their problems have always lied within their goaltending situation. I mean, they brought in Luongo, but it's been a kind of a battle for him, especially the last few years. Their forwards, Henrik and Daniel did amazing. Ryan Kessler when he came in, and it just felt like the supporting players, the roles on the check line and the fourth line, it just felt like they did exactly what needed to be done to continuously keep Vancouver in the playoff hunt, and that's what I really liked about Vancouver. And I found really effective coaching. Mark Crawford and Alain Vigneault. I hate Vancouver. I'm an Avalanche fan, so I hate them, but I like kind of the chemistry that their players have together. And then tied for second, we have the New Jersey Devils and the San Jose Sharks, tied at 101 points apiece. The Devils, 3 Stanley Cup appearances, 1 Stanley Cup win, that was in 2003, and the San Jose Sharks, 3 Western Conference Final appearances, but none to the Stanley Cup. For the Devils, it was all net, straight up. Martin Brodeur. When you have Martin Brodeur in net, I think if you put him on the Blue Jackets, they could be a very solid team, Stanley Cup contender every single year. They had decent forwards, Patrick Elias, and then Sergei Brylin, and guys like that, Peter Sikora. They kind of kept they had really good chemistry together, and just as but they were really defensive minded, so that was the thing, and I liked how they shut down the opposition. And when you have Brodeur, that's all you had to do. You had to score 3 goals, and you're going to win the game. And then the Sharks, they had really good. They always seem to have really good goaltenders. I think. I mean, right now they got Niemi. He's doing pretty good for them. Before him, I can't even remember the guy from Finland. He went to the Maple Leafs, and just it's slipping my mind. The Sharks, they had Patrick Marleau, Joe Thornton, a lot of chemistry between those players, and it just their defenseman with Dan Boyle, and they brought in Brent Burns. It just felt like everything kind of fit in for them. They had Owen Nolan just before the lockout, and just they had veteran leadership, and that's what their whole team was built on. Now they're going younger, so I expect them to continue up the high road there. It's bothering me actually. That's the Toskla. That's it. I didn't even write it down. It popped in my head. That's the Toskla. I loved him with the Sharks. Imagine if they actually kept Kiprusoff and he turned out to be a Shark for life. So the Sharks, they're just for me. They're getting older, and that's what's happened to them in the conference finals. They just run out of gas. And the top team in the NHL in the last 11 years by 10 points, 111 points on average. 3 Stanley Cup appearances, 2 Stanley Cup wins. One was in 2002 over the Hurricanes, and the other in 2008 over the Penguins, the Detroit Red Wings. And this is, if I was a general manager in any sport, this is the team I would mirror. I would do exactly what they have done, where their scouting staff has been amazing. They've had faith in the players that they've drafted. A lot of their players that were drafted in the late rounds with Thomas Holmstrom. Then you got Pavel Datsyuk, Henrik Zetterberg. I think Chris Draper, he was drafted in the later rounds. Justin Albuquerque, he's doing pretty decent for them. Jonathan Erickson, Jimmy Howard. All those guys, they were just drafted in the later rounds, but they do phenomenal for them. Nicholas Cronwell, just for them, it's always been from within and just keeping the core together. So that's what happens when you play together for a long period of time. It's just you're so accustomed to each other. It's kind of like you feed off each other like you're a twin, and you always it works really well for them because they have an offensive package, defensive package. They've always had solid goaltending. I mean, they had many legacy. I loved him actually. Chris Osgood, Dominic Hasek. Now they got Jimmy Howard in that. And then when you move up into the defensemen, it just worked well. And the forwards are just really great offensive, defensive forwards. And that's it. I mean, not much more you can say. The facts speak for itself. 2 Stanley Cups in 11 years, 3 appearances. The Red Wings are the real deal. Unfortunately, as they get younger, it's going to be a bit harder. The guys are getting older and stuff like that. So don't expect them to be the elite, but I think they'll still be in the middle of the pack. And I don't see them really missing the playoffs for a good 4 or 5 years. And that's the thing is, though, a lot of free agents will probably want to go to the Red Wings because they're such a dominant team. So there you have it. I mean, the top teams: the Red Wings, the Devils, the Sharks, the Canucks, the Senators, and the Stars. For me, I don't know if you guys were surprised by any. Red Wings and Devils, I figured. But in the last 11 years, I didn't think I thought the Sharks were middle pack. I didn't think the Canucks would be in the top there for 11 years. Nor the Senators. Ottawa Senators, are you kidding me? One of the top 5 teams in the NHL in the last 11 years. And the Stars, I knew they were powerless, but not this much. And the bottom 5 teams, no surprises with the Blue Jackets, the Thrashers slash Jets, or the Panthers. A little bit surprised by the Oilers, but not too much. I thought they would be a higher middle pack. I mean, and then even the lower, I mean, the Penguins, they've been a powerhouse the last few years. But didn't you remember that they had like the first overall pick with Marc-Andre Fleury? They got Crosby. Second overall with Evgeny Malkin. They were the worst team in the NHL from like 2001 to like just right after the lockout, season after lockout. They were one of the worst teams. So it's really cool. It's really surprising. And I mean, a lot of the lower teams actually have gone to a Stanley Cup. Edmonton Oilers, they went to a Stanley Cup. The Tampa Bay Lightning, they won the Stanley Cup. The Los Angeles Kings won a Stanley Cup. The Chicago Blackhawks, Carolina Hurricanes, all won Stanley Cups. They're the lower teams. So that I love the NHL. So that's for today. I'm actually going to go through the NBA, NFL, and MLB as well and see who the top 5 teams are and the bottom 5 teams are in all the sports. But this is the NHL. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode, a little fun episode. Tomorrow I'm going to come at you with my preview for the NL West, San Francisco Giants. That's it for my brain, my heart, sports talk with Mike. I hope you enjoy your Wednesday, your hump day, whatever you do on your hump day. Thank you.